perfect 2-0 yesterday. And up until yesterday, the unders had really dominated this March Madness because they've been coming in at approximately 60% of the time. Now, Gonzaga has opened as a 4.5-point favorite in the game tomorrow against Baylor in that championship game. Gonzaga is a minus 210 on the money line. Baylor is a plus 180, and the total opened up at 160. So in spite of the defeat, in spite of the close game that was involved yesterday, Gonzaga still remains on top because a lot of people think it's probably just an aberration, just happened to one of those days. You can have a bad game somewhere along the line, and it's winning those bad day games that really puts you above everything else. But anyway, it's a 4.5-point favorite. We're going to be talking about this game tomorrow. Before we come on the air, we're going to look things up, have everything ready for you, kind of keep an eye on the line movement, see which direction the lines are going, also in which direction the pros are going. That's most important as well. Now, there's also an update on the NCAA tournament's most outstanding player odds. Some changes yesterday because of what happened. Suggs with that shot is now a plus 115. I mean, he's not the favorite. Timmy is still the favorite, minus 120. Suggs is now at a plus 115. Mitchell's plus 400. Butler's plus 800. Ajayi is plus 1,600. Kispert is plus 2,000. And Teague is plus 2,000. So that's a kind of a rundown. And thank you to BetMGM for those numbers. Those are the latest odds on the most outstanding player in the tournament. Like I said, Suggs really moved up a bit because of that great shot. He had not only that shot, but he had a great game to begin with, but that shot really kind of capped things off as far as that was concerned. Meanwhile, another sports yesterday in Major League Baseball, for instance, the favorites went 7-6 straight up, with the Rays and the Marlins closing as a pick'em. The underdogs went 12-7 with one pick on Thursday and Friday. So the dogs are still 18-14 straight up. Along with the two picks, the dogs are still ahead as far as Major League Baseball is concerned. Yesterday, the Orioles, as a plus 155, beat the Red Sox. They pulled their biggest upset for the second straight day. The question now, they play again today. Are they going to come through with 3 in a row? The unders are 10-4. So the over-under is back to 500 at 17-17. Meanwhile, in the NBA, the favorites went 6-5 straight up with upsets by the Senators, the Sabres, all the S's. The Senators, the Sabres, the Stars, and the Sharks. Okay, Wild also as well. The unders went 8-3. 1. So that's the whole story as far as the Hockey League is concerned, and that's what we have to talk about. So we're going to take our first break, and when we come back, it's Easter morning. Things are kind of a little confusing this morning. Things are going on all over the place. Families getting together, things happening, and things of that nature. So we're going to kind of take it easy now, take that first break, get everything out of our system, and come back and take a look at baseball. Baseball is now the center of attention. We're going to be paying more attention to the baseball games coming up. So we have some games to take a look at as far as today is concerned. We have three games on the docket. Toronto against the Yankees, Atlanta against Philadelphia, and Baltimore against Boston. So let's get that first break. And if you've listened to the show before, we take 3 breaks. Each one is about a minute duration. So we'll be back in 60 seconds. And welcome back. Welcome back to the Sports Wagering Zone. You're in the zone. I'm Chris Pardo. I'm here in Charlotte, North Carolina, coming to you live on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, also on most of your prime podcast platforms such as Apple, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon, you name it. We're on most of the major platforms as well. So now that the tournament is coming down to the end, one game left for tomorrow. Let's turn our attention to baseball. Let's talk about a few games that are on tap for today. A couple of games that are getting some notable attention from the pros, kind of give you an idea as to which direction they're going. Now, we're going to be telling you, and we're going to be talking about baseball in the same way we did with the NFL and when we were talking about college basketball. We're going to watch the money lines. We're going to watch the line movement as well, and also give an idea as to how the pros are going. And we're going to keep a record of it. We'll let you know what's going on with it, so that this way, if you want to, use some of the information we have, you can use it. No charge for it whatsoever. You might be able to implement it with whatever system that you have. If you have a system and you're very happy with it, then of course, you always want to tweak it a little bit sometimes to make it better. Unless you feel it's perfect, you want to keep doing it, you're making money with it, that's all good and well. But you're going to come across some games where you can have two teams, and one team's going to look pretty good in the beginning, and then a couple hours later you look it over again, and you see the other team looking a little better, and you're trying to decide which way to go. You want to flip the coin, you want to throw a dart or something. Well, maybe you could take a look at some of the information we give you, and that may steer you in that certain direction as well. Not saying it's going to be the better direction. It could very well be, but anyway, with going to be following the pros. These are the guys that do it for a living. They're right 60% of the time, somewhere in that general area. Nobody knows for sure, but they're definitely somewhere in that area. And you can use that information. And of course, if you have no system, perhaps you might want to start thinking of this as being a system as well. Well, so far, we've had 6 selections to look at over the period. And we have Arizona against San Diego. That was a win. Texas, Kansas City. That was a win. So the first day we had 2 plays. We had 2 winners. Then we had 3 plays, and we had 3 losers and 1 winner. So altogether, so far, going into the season, we've had 6 plays, 3 wins, and 3 losses. So today we have 3 more plays on the docket. So we're going to tell you how the line movement is going on in those games, as well as in which direction the pros are betting as well. So the first game we're looking at is at 1:05 p.m. Eastern time, of course. The Atlanta Braves, who are 0-2, and the Philadelphia Phillies, who are 2-0. Because the Phillies have taken the first 2 games of this series. They won 3-2 as a -125 favorite on opening day. And then they won 4-0 on Saturday, where they were the underdog, a +100 on the underdog money line. So today, the Braves are going to start their young right-hander, Ian Anderson, who was 3-2 with a 1.95 ERA back last season. And the Phillies are going to come back with Zach Eflin, the veteran, 4-2 with a 3.97 ERA last season. So looking at the line, it opened with the Braves, a -130 road favorite. So the public says the Braves are the better team, and there's no way they lose 3 in a row. However, the pros aren't going to fall into this, what we call a gambler's fallacy. This is the gambler's fallacy trap. That's where just because you think someone has lost a certain amount of games in a row, now they're going to go in the other direction. That's not necessarily so, especially when it comes to baseball. I mean, some teams have lost 10 in a row. Some teams have won 10 and 11 in a row. So don't get caught in that gambler's fallacy trap. And in this particular game, the pros are definitely not falling for it. So we've seen the Braves go down from -130 to a minus 115 on the money line, which means that the pro money is riding on the Phillies to keep it going as a short home dog. They're a plus 115 to a plus 105. Now, divisional dogs like the Phillies are 11-8 or at 58%. I know the season's kind of young, but that's how it started out so far. Divisional dogs like the Phillies, 11-8 so far this early season at 58%. So in the game between Atlanta and the Philadelphia Phillies, the pros are saying the Phillies are going to come back and win 3 in a row. Also at 1:05 Eastern Time, you have the Toronto Blue Jays and the New York Yankees. Now, these are American League Eastern foes. They've split 2 of the first 2 games in the series. The Jays won 3-2 on opening day as a plus 170 dog. The Yankees won 5-3 on Saturday, where they were a 165 favorite on the money line. Now, in today's rubber game, the Jays send out their 2016 first-round pick, TJ Zook. He's 1-0 last season with a 1.59 ERA. And the Yankees are going to come back with Domingo German, who missed all of last season, but he went 18-4 with a 4 ERA back in 2019. Now, looking at the line in this game, it opened with the Yankees listed as a big minus 155 home favorite. Now, the pro money has been all over the Yankees at home against that rookie pitcher for Toronto, which has steamed the Yankees from minus 155 up to minus 165 on the money line. The total is 9.5, with the under being juiced up to 115. Now, the under is 2-0 in the first 2 games of the series. So again, the total is 9.5, the under being juiced up to 115. So in this particular game between the Blue Jays and the New York Yankees, the pros are on the favorite, the New York Yankees, in this situation. One final game we're looking at, also at 110. They're all early games today. The Baltimore Orioles and the Boston Red Sox. Now, the Orioles, they've won the first 2 games in this series. They outscored Boston by a margin of 7-2, cashing in as big, juicy underdogs at a plus 150 and also at a plus 153 in the second game. The Orioles are going to give the ball to lefty Bruce Zimmerman. No record in 2020. No wins, no losses. While the Red Sox will start veteran righty and offseason addition Garrett Richards, who was 2-2 last year with a 4.03 ERA. The line opened with Boston. They're a minus 165 home favorite. Now, the pro money looks to be backing the Red Sox to avoid this sweep. Now, we've seen the line get steamed up on the Red Sox from a minus 165 up to a minus 175. Now, the total opened at 10. It's already dropped down to 9.5 at most of the shops that we looked at in Vegas, signaling that the pro money is on the under in this game. So far in this series between Baltimore and Boston, the under is 2-0 so far. So those are the 3 games that we've looked at as far as line movement and as far as where the pros were going. Once again, Toronto against New York Yankees. The Yankees were the choice. Atlanta against Philadelphia. The pros are on Philadelphia. And in the Baltimore-Boston game, the pros seem to think that Boston will come back and win the 3rd game. It'll be their first win, but it's the 3rd game in the series. So that's the story there. Like I said, we're going to keep a close eye on this system, just as we did in the NFL. It worked out very, very well in the NFL during that season, and also has done pretty decently as far as college basketball is concerned, especially in the tournament. The basketball season itself wasn't all that well. I mean, it was, you're looking at 49%. So 49%, you're pretty close to 52.3. It's been a tough season Many, many people have lost money throughout the college basketball season. Very tough to handicap. That's all I heard about. I got emails, talking to friends, talking to people. They all tell me the same thing. How the heck do you handicap these college basketball games? Sometimes you don't know who's going to be playing. Sometimes the team hasn't played for 2 weeks and now they're going to play again. So it was a tough season as far as college basketball handicapping was concerned. Some people probably did okay, made some right moves, went in the right direction. But generally speaking, the college basketball season was kind of chaotic as far as gambling was concerned. And of course, that's our primary interest. So as far as baseball, it looks like the entire season is going to come into play, 162 games. We're going to have a long season. Hopefully it'll keep going on. I know we've had a couple of cancellations, couple of postponements so far, but that's going to happen here and there. But with this type of a schedule, with that many games, most of them are more than likely going to get in, if not all of them, because the numbers are starting to come down as far as the virus is concerned. So that's the story. We're going to be following baseball. We'll let you know how it's doing from day to day as we go. And like I said, right now, going into today, we have had 6 plays. We had 3 winners. We had 3 losers. So we're right out starting even once again. And we have 3 games that we're picking for today. Not that we're picking, but that are being picked by the pros that we see that what they have done. So anyway, let's take that second break and we'll be back. And when we come back, I'm going to take a look at some handicapping tips, some handicapping strategies to look at as far as baseball is concerned, because that's where we're going to devote most of our attention and most of our time to. So let's take that break and we'll be right back after this. And welcome back. We're back in the sports wagering zone on this Easter Sunday, the day before the final game in the NCAA tournament between Baylor and Gonzaga. Baylor is the underdog in the game at 4.5 points, last we've seen. Keep an eye on it. We'll see what happens. And again, because of the game yesterday, how tight it was, the way Gonzaga won that game. But like we say, they've been doing very, very well throughout the season. They're undefeated. Somewhere in there, you've got to have a bad game. And the key is winning the bad games. When you're having a bad day, you're playing a bad situation, and you still win. That's a real plus in your direction as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, we're going to forget about basketball for a while. Get ready now. Turn our attention to baseball, because That's what's going to be going on. That'll be king for a while. Every now and then the NFL will come in. You're going to have the draft. There'll be all kinds of news going on about things that are going on. We'll follow the NBA for a while, National Hockey League as well. But baseball will probably be getting most of our attention over the next few months. The idea now is to try to give you some tips, some ideas, some thoughts on strategies for handicapping baseball, because baseball is different on betting than betting on other sports. And the idea is underdogs, when to pick them, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. It's very, very important because we here at the show, we're primarily contrarian bettors. We kind of look in that direction. We look for the underdogs. And that's generally our philosophy here. Because once again, like I said, betting on baseball, it's different than betting on basketball or football or whatever else as well, except for golf and racing. Of course, they have their own formulas as well. Now, baseball is predominantly a money line sport, which means that you just need to pick which team is going to win. Now, as a bettor, you also have a lot more games to choose from compared to other sports. Usually with about 15 games per day is what you're going to have, and there'll be well over 2,400 games throughout the season. So if you're new to betting on baseball, or if you're looking for a little update, a little refresher as to how to do it, here are some easy ways to help you turn a profit. And that's what we're trying to do. I want you to avoid some very common mistakes that perhaps you've been making in the past, or perhaps if you're just getting started out, don't start making these mistakes to begin with. First of all, you want to stay away from the big favorites. The public loves taking favorites. After all, in their minds, they're the better team. They're expected to win. They're the favorites, so why not? Okay. However, the sports books, they know that the public has this bias. So what do? To protect themselves, they move the lines towards the favorite teams, forcing those bettors to lay bigger, more overpriced numbers. So if you're constantly laying 200 to 250 or 300 to win 100, you're assuming a big risk without much reward in return. So if you like big favorites, you might be better off taking them on the spread. Also, we call it the run line. For example, instead of betting a favorite who's a minus 300 on the money line, you could bet the team to win by 2 or more runs on the run line at minus 1.5. The VIG on that is minus 140. So you're going to be laying 140 to win 100, but at least you won't be laying 300 to win that 100. So at least the risk reward factor kind of comes into play. Now, of course, they still have to win, but they have to win by at least 2 runs. That's the other stipulation. Also, you want to really lean on the divisional underdogs, especially the divisional underdogs. So to break even betting on spread and over-under sports such as football and basketball, you have to win 52.3% of your plays, assuming that you pay that minus 110 juice, okay? Now, the one advantage in baseball is that if you avoid the big favorites and you pay attention and you focus on the underdogs, you can win and be ahead and be a winner at less than 50%. You could still turn a profit based on the plus money payouts. Think of it this way: plus 110, plus 130, plus 175. Okay, you're laying 100, you win 175. Right? So now you can afford to lose games along the way. However, it doesn't mean you have to bet every dog that's out there, because the key is you have to focus on the divisional dogs. They perform a lot better than the underdogs playing out of their divisions. And this is primarily due to the built-in familiarity that the team has. They're in the same division. They play each other 19 times a year, and they know what to expect in terms of who's on the other team. They can scout them. They know their tendencies. They know the way their manager reacts, and even the stadium. They're familiar with playing at that particular stadium. It's not strange to them. So this helps level the playing field, and it benefits the underdog in this type of situation. And also, you want to target the dogs that have high totals, favorites with low totals, and first fives. First fives. Pay attention to the total, otherwise known as the over-under. Okay, that's the other situation. If you're betting on a dog, you want the game to have a high total of 9 or higher. And the reason for that, because when more runs are expected to be scored, it leads to more variance and there's more upset opportunities, which again benefits the dog. Low totals of 8 or less are better for the favorites. That's because there are fewer expected runs that are going to be scored. It makes it more likely that they'll come from the better team. So you stay away from those type of games. Now, baseball has its own version of, like in football and basketball, you have first half bets. Here they're called first 5 bets, or F5 is the way they're referred to. Now, maybe you really like a starting pitching matchup, but you're worried that the team has a terrible bullpen and they're probably going to blow the game. So in this kind of situation, you can bet a team on the F5 line instead of the full game line. Or maybe you like the F5 under instead of the full game under. Either way, always know that you do have that option. You can bet on the first 5 games or the last 4 games. Now, most important, monitor the line movement. That's the key. That's the basis of what we talk about on the show. Line movement tells you which direction the money is flowing, which direction the pros are going. So the way a line moves can tell you a lot about where the public is going to be betting and where the pro money is going to be betting. The goal is to bet against the public, who bet on gut instinct. They have their biases. So place your side and place yourself on the side of the house. And most importantly, be on the same side as the pros, who have the respect of the sports books and win more times than they lose. So, and you also want to track how a line moves from the opening right up to game time. If a line is moving toward a team, that's a good sign that the pro money is in that team's favor. A reverse line movement, something we've talked about in the past, is a great indicator of where the pro money is going. This is when the betting line moves away from the popular side, goes toward the unpopular side, going from the favorite to the underdog. And steam is also important. Steam is when a large amount of money comes in one quick shot. This is typically when you see the line move 20 cents or more in any direction, either up or down. Also, look out for those late moves that happen just before game time. That's important as well, because at that point in time, that's when the limits are the highest, and that's when the big money really comes into play. Understand that as far as limits are concerned, as soon as the line comes out, that's the lowest limit that anyone can make a wager on. Now, whatever it could be, each house has its own situation as to what they want it to be. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, it's $1,000. Now, as you get closer to game time, that number increases. So you can start betting more and more up until just about an hour before game time. That's when you can bet the most money. So that's when most of the big money is starting to come in at that point in time. Hasn't come in earlier because they can't bet the amount that they want to bet. So they wait for that particular situation to arrive where the limits are higher and they can come in with the big money that they have. So that's something you want to keep an eye on as well. So that's the story as far as betting on underdogs. Just some tips and some ideas on how to bet baseball. It's a little different from betting football or basketball. You're not going to have spread lines. It's primarily a money line type of situation, and that's the way they do it. So keep an eye on it. We'll be talking more about it as we focus on baseball, because that is going to be what's going to be happening over the next few months. So let's take our final break, and when we come back, we'll review the 3 games we have on tap for today, let you know in which direction the money is flowing in those games, kind of help you out in that respect. So let's take our final break, and we will be back in 60 seconds. And welcome back. You're back in the sports wagering zone. I'm Chris Pardo, coming to you live from Charlotte, North Carolina on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. Again, tomorrow is the final game in the NCAA tournament. Tomorrow we're going to crown the champion, Baylor against Gonzaga. Looking at the various board here as far as Las Vegas houses are concerned, and Gonzaga still remains a 4.5-point favorite throughout the board. There's no change whatsoever. As far as the over-under is concerned, most of the boards are at 159.5. There's a few of them that are at 160. You have Wynn and Caesars at 160. The rest of them are at 159.5. So those are the latest up-to-date numbers as far as the game is on for tomorrow. It's a night game tomorrow, 9:15 or so Eastern time. That's what the story is about. They want to make sure that the West Coast gets in to watch the game early enough. That's why they push for the East Coast. You guys have to stay up much longer throughout the night to see what's going to happen. So that's the story. We'll keep an eye on the line movement in that particular game as well, and we'll talk about it again tomorrow. Now, once again, on weekdays, we're here from Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, taking a look at the 3 games we have on tap for today, as far as which direction the money is going and which direction the pros are going. And the game with Toronto against the New York Yankees, they like the New York Yankees. In Atlanta against the Philadelphia Phillies, the pros are on Philadelphia. And finally, in the Baltimore-Boston game, where Baltimore has won the first 2 games, the pros are coming in and they kind of feel that Boston is going to win that particular game. So that's the story as far as that's concerned. So anyway, I want to thank you very much for listening once again. It's Sunday. It's Easter Sunday. For those of you that celebrate the festivities, we wish you the best and happiest of Easters. Wish you a very pleasant Sunday afternoon. Kind of take it easy. Watch a little baseball. Do a little homework. Tomorrow night is the final game. Everything finally comes to a head tomorrow. Gonzaga against Baylor. So we'll be talking about that tomorrow as well. In addition to any more baseball games that we have coming up as well. So that's the story. Once again, thanks for listening. I'm Chris Pardo. We've been coming to you live from Charlotte, North Carolina on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment